Hello everyone, welcome to the Touchnaut channel on the road. That was Ross's idea. This is Ross McEwen. He's a heraldist over from Scotland for the weekend for the New Hampshire Highland Games 2024. He's doing a seminar series here, which I just exited one of them. An excellent talk all about heraldry, the passion and the flourish and the artistry and all surrounding the clans, the chiefships, the coat of arms and the family crest and all that kind of thing. That's his hot topic, and that's what we're here to talk to him about, as well as what he thinks about our whole American games as a whole.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Ross.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you very much, and thank you for everything that you do to highlight and give volume to clan culture. It's a very hot day, so I haven't ran here. This is just my constitution in a hot room,
Right.
in a hot environment.
Right. Well, we've got some water here for you. So you talked us through many of the the chiefship things up there, and it was a very good talk. Very in depth, actually, and instructive as well. Not as much of a lecture, but it was actually interactive, which was nice. So Ross was with us yesterday with Clan McEwen. Of course, he's been here with them all weekend. It's been wonderful hosts for him, he tells me. At our clan parade yesterday, Ross.
Yes.
What kind of differences can you point up for us to what you're used to seeing at home? What happens here? How's that all?
Certainly. So this is the first Scottish Games that I've attended in the United States. I've seen photographs and seen videos for years, and nothing could have prepared me, I don't think, for this. It's been the most charming and wonderfully bizarre experience for me, because this is like a Scottish Games on steroids. There's thousands upon thousands of people. I think there were 35 to 40,000 people here yesterday.
Indeed.
There's almost 40 clans. We're coming to you from the clan village, and the enthusiasm and the motivation and just the pure love for clans here is something, unfortunately, we don't see a great deal of at Scottish Games, at least. And it's just been a charming and wonderful day. But we had the March of the Clans, which was everyone carrying tartan banners, and then we all lined up, which is not wholly unusual. But then we had the roll call, where clans and the families here yell out either their motto or their war cry, and I had no idea that was coming, and it was one of the most wonderfully bizarre moments I think I've experienced in clan world, because everyone sounded so impassioned or angry or excited or all of them together, and I'm glad no one told me it was coming, because it was just a very surprising moment. And actually one of my favourite moments was when Clan Lament was announced, but they were announced as Clan Lamont, and all you heard from the back of the crowd was, "It's Clan Lament, damn it!"
Indeed.
And I think I nearly was sick with laughter. It was one of the funniest moments I've remembered in a long time. So the enthusiasm here is really the biggest takeaway. And I've just before sitting down with you, I was just talking to the chairman of the games, who's from Scotland, and we're just comparing notes, because really Scotland should be leading the way with games of this ilk and clan heritage and engagement and making sure everyone learns as much as they want. You would think, but so I'm excited, but I'm a little embarrassed as well, because we have a couple of games in Scotland that do aim to achieve what we're surrounded by here, but a lot of them, finding a clan at a Highland Games is quite a rarity in Scotland. There's a few that are up and coming, but it's a big love fest for Scotland and its clans, and it's I've bumped into a few other Scots here. You hear the accent and you go over and say hello, and we were all saying the same thing, that this is wonderful, and we should be seeing much more of this style and scale back in Scotland, and maybe one day we will, but in the meantime it's a great thrill to be here. And Clan McEwen have looked after me very well, from driving me around and feeding me exceptionally well. I have to say the kilt's a bit tight, but the American hospitality's I found always been wonderful, especially here in New England and in the South, as it happens. So that bit was no big surprise, but I'm coming away with a lot of thoughts, a lot of reflections. And the seminar I just did, which I tried to not make it about a lecture, but is to try and ensure that the story and the authenticity, whatever that means these days, travels with that enthusiasm. Because in Scotland, if we neglect this area of our culture, it will morph and it will change and will end up being something quite foreign. So we need to keep that tie strong. But the New Hampshire Games is well worth it. It's been a wild weekend, but a wonderful weekend.
Yes, Ross, thank you. One of the things that really struck me in our conversation, we've been talking back and forth, I think, since June or so, was that you told me, the United States, in places like it, perhaps Australia, the epicenter of Scottish culture these days, along with Nova Scotia, of course. It just struck me down, almost fell over. I mean, why would a place not of its, why would somewhere else be the epicenter of a culture
from somewhere else
that's foreign to these shores, you might say?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm sure there's a PhD student somewhere that will work it out, but one of the remarks I made in the seminar that I just gave was when a lot of the people here in the United States and Australia and New Zealand, when their ancestors either left Scotland or were invited to leave, they took that pride with them, and you never feel as much from somewhere than when you're somewhere else. In Scotland, the story kept going, and it wasn't always a happy story. So I think and we also have very long memories in Scotland. The clans were formed every side of every argument. So I'm from the Highlands of Scotland, and we have a massive population problem to this day of a lack of population, and the genesis of some of that can be found in the Highland clearances, which was pioneered by a few chiefs of families and others, but a few chiefs of families that still exist to this day. So it is weird, but I think it's better it exists somewhere else than not at all. And what I hope in the future is that Scotland will to say they don't engage would be dishonest, but I think to find that happy medium, because Americans and North Americans especially come to Scotland expecting to find things like this and this huge games, and I don't think they're disappointed, but they may be left with questions. Why don't we all wear our tartans, and why don't we all wear our crest badges? Some do, but for some, clan life and the question of clan culture after things like the Battle of Culloden, when clan culture was obviously changed forever. I think there's a complicated cultural story there, but in the meantime, this is about having fun and about engaging, about being proud and excited and welcoming and enjoying kinship and friendship of other people. So there's no downside that I can find, and there's even music and booze and games, and so there's no downside of this. So what I hope is that we can inherit some of that enthusiasm from Australia, New Zealand, and here, and in turn we can share more of the story, because a lot of these places still exist. All of the buildings, the Clan Donald tent just around the corner, the person that's manning that tent there, the building that her great-great-grandfather built on the west coast still stands. So that history is still there, and it's some of it's literally falling down with neglect where these buildings fall away. So I think we can do a bit more. There's a lot of chiefs that are working very, very hard to preserve not just their culture, but clan culture in general. But yes, it is a bit bizarre, but in a lovely way, because it's better it exists somewhere than nowhere.
Right. Well, Ross, I'm a very big fan of analogies and parallels. That's how I talk and how I write commonly. So we have the Scottish wildcat, who's in a bad plight right now. That's the Clan Hatton mascot animal. They're in a bad way. They're being helped. There's some captive breeding going on, and reinfusing that back into the forest where they can live and survive. Now that you've been talking, I'm thinking maybe we're doing a little captive breeding of Scottish culture over here.
Maybe, yes.
We're incubating in a bit, and we're going to send a little bit of it back with Ross to infuse back into Scotland proper.
Certainly. I mean, there's a band here this weekend called Skerryvore, who are, you bump into on the street, and they played my hometown not long ago. So it's crazy to come all this way and see people that you recognise and know from home. But yes, I think not just clan culture has been incubated here, but I think it has a friendly home, and people like yourself, Ray, who put so much time and effort and expense. Let's be honest, it's not a cheap hobby sometimes. But for those who don't, engaging with clan culture doesn't need to mean you have a tent and you come to games. It can mean as little or as much as you like, and that can be having a clan crest in your house, doing some research, connecting with your clan societies. Of course, Clan Hatton is a bit unique when you have so many names, but Clan Hatton in the US is also thriving. So I like that analogy as well about the Scottish Wild. It's having a place to thrive and not just survive, but a place to thrive as well.
Right. I can only think that clan heritage and preservation of that should begin at home and branch out from there. You're absolutely right.
It should, because the spaces still exist. I mean, I said in my lecture that the monarch of Scotland is called the King of Scots. It's of the people. The land belonged to the clans and families, and so and you've got a very helpful map behind you where it shows some of the names and where they're from. So it's not just the name and the material things that mean something or nothing to people, but it's actually that heritage and that history and their present day and future, because clans need a purpose. The world would function without clans, but it's better if they have Scottish clans. And so clans finding a purpose, whether that is not just heritage and history, but present day agricultural conservation or funding of the arts, or enabling their story to be part of not just people of their name, but people in that part of Scotland where they live, I think is just a Celtic idea wrapped in a modern moment. I think it'd be wonderful. And Clan Hatton and all these wonderful tents and stalls that we're surrounded by here in the New Hampshire Games are doing versions of that. But one thing that has struck me while being here is you visit some of the tents, and they don't always know what's going on in Scotland to do with that name. So there is a bridge that needs either rebuilt or repaired between that, and I think that will be fun to do that. But clans need to, and Scots need to pay attention to this, because we're very lucky to have this kind of culture, and if we don't use it, we will lose it.
Right, I can see without some communication and some bridge back and forth, it's really not doing much favor to anyone in the clan to just have some kind of a club in America only. I mean, certainly that's done. Some of them are only really just family reunions.
Sure.
And some of these clan organizations started that way, a family picnic.
Well, this game
there and there, and hey, let's see some trees over there so you can throw them.
Exactly. Well, the New Hampshire
like that,
Games,
right?
The New Hampshire Games celebrates its 50th anniversary next year, and I think that the genesis of that was the Murray family picnic.
Absolutely.
Which is why Murray will be the honoured clan next year. But you're right, because if Americans and other parts of the world keep this culture going and grow it themselves, and Scotland doesn't, then you're going to end up with actually two different worlds. And there's unity. That's what clan culture is all about: unity and kinship and celebration and friendship and helping one another. Because clansfolk isn't just about dressing up and going all high, but clansfolk can help each other in business or in personal matters or in health. It's a family. Clan meaning family is not an accident. It's a global family. It's no longer just contained, because Scotland's population has never hit 6 million. The state of Massachusetts has 1.5 million people more than Scotland does, and that's not separating people who have migrated to Scotland recently. So it's just a match made in heaven, and I want it to be louder and prouder and busier, and I know it will get there with the help of people like yourself and people here.
Yeah, well, you've come to the right place to get a snapshot of it, I'll tell you that.
For sure. As I said, I've done a lot. I've attended Highland Games since I was a wee bairn, and this weekend has completely blown my mind in the best possible way. Not just the pomp and the ceremony and the loudness, but the people and the personalities and the welcoming and the love. It's pure love, whether you have people in the full kilt get-up or just a badge or a t-shirt or just nothing at all. They're here because they want to feel good about themselves and about others, and so it's just a big love fest. There's no downside as far as I can tell, apart from the drinks prices. Other than that, there's no downside at all.
Ross is right, my friends. There's no uniform required, there's no badge required, there's none of that. Just a desire to learn more.
Desire to learn,
and hang around with your own folks and learn about your culture, and that'll all come. That'll be important after a while. You'll want to look the part, perhaps, but
you can ease your way into that. I can see why sometimes it can be seen as intimidating, because you turn up and people are wearing expensive kilts and wearing silver things, but those are the diehards, and clan culture needs to be an open door. I mentioned in my seminar some of the pitfalls perhaps in linking DNA with clans really narrowly, and I think that's maybe a dark road, and it should work in concert with other chains of thought. But clan culture should be an open door policy. And again, many clans, including mine, we welcome people who have no Scottish heritage or blood whatsoever. They want to be part of this wild ride that is clan culture, and we would be much diminished if we shut the door on those people and left them outside, because more people, more interaction means more of everything, and that's a good thing.
Right. I take it as a compliment to some, I should say, outsider cultures, whatever, are intrigued by us. And
for sure,
and
definitely.
Very much so. They really want to learn about it. We're pretty fun, folks. We're a fun group if you didn't know it. You're with the right crowd.
For sure.
And I met a great guy in Ross. He's becoming my crowd is growing larger and larger with the Touchstone channel, and he's a big part of that.
No, well, and just credit to you, Ray, and others online. And again, I mean, both Clan Hatton channels, I think, are based in the US, and that's a testament to is it Cindy? I think Cindy McIntosh and you, who are shining a light. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're actually shining a light on things that exist. We have a list of the Clan Hatton chiefs up there. One, the Alan McLean of Dockgarrett, who I've known for quite a few years. That I'm sure his wife wishes that he'd slow down, but some people, we feel it within our blood, within ourselves, to not let this fall away or be neglected. And that, again, that doesn't need to mean that you buy all the expensive stuff. you can ask Santa for that maybe later on. But clan culture is about sitting and having a drink, having a meal, having a word of friendship, and just being part of it. It's not an exclusive club. If it is being portrayed as an exclusive club, then they are misrepresenting what this is all about. And so, as a Scotsman and as a Highlander, it's a great privilege and pleasure to see all this. It's inspiring and it's just exciting. It's been such a fantastic weekend, and it's not quite over yet.
Yes. You know, Ross, one of the most exciting things about sitting in this tent and having someone come by and knows very little, it's just the look on their face and the appreciation in their voice, and being able to bring that to them. And it's something that I may have said that story or that sentence 400 times to people. It's the first time they've heard it.
Yes.
And it's my responsibility, I feel, to say it as if it's the first time that I'm saying it.
Absolutely, and not
they
to
really are appreciative to no end. It's fantastic.
No, absolutely, and there's no shame in this. I get very agitated and irritated when people use their knowledge as a way to. There's a phrase in Scotland called "We're all Jock Tamson's bairns," and whether you're religious or not, it's the idea that everyone is equal, and we need to help each other and not get too above our station. And clan culture really should be like that. Ray says he's a fan of metaphors. A metaphor I enjoy using is that a clan chief is not like a monarch or a king or queen, but they're more like a theatre director or film director, surrounded by their cast, and their cast is their family, and everyone has an equal say and a part to play in that play of clan life and clan history. And the chief is the yes/no person, but they would not be able to do their job very effectively at all without the input of other people. And that can be people like Ray and I, who spend probably far too much time doing this sort of thing, and others who just walk in off the street with open ears. And as you've perfectly said, Ray, to say these things 400, 1,000 times, it's the excitement of how it lands with these people that keeps it going, and all the power to them, and all the people here who've worked very hard. There's some clan tents where there's just one person here all weekend representing, and so it's a labour of love, and it's a worthwhile one, and it's one that we're all part of.
Yeah. A lot of toting, a lot of driving, a lot of sketchy hotel condition putting up with, all that kind of thing.
Fast food. Yeah.
It's work, but it's work that we love doing. We wouldn't be here if we didn't love it. I hope that's obvious. That's absolute truth.
For sure, and for anyone watching this who thinks they may have a clan or wish to be part of a clan or not quite sure where to start, most clans have an association or a society. Some of them are based geographically where you are, but some, like McEwen and Logan Unhatted, are worldwide. Have a look at their website. Most of them have good websites, or Instagram or YouTube or indeed Facebook, and learn a bit more. It's, like I said, it's an open door. It shouldn't be a treehouse club, and in most cases, thankfully, it's not. And you're part of the story. Everyone's part of the family, whether they are blood connected or not. It's a kinship in the true sense of the word, and long may it last.
Well, Ross, I want to thank you for squeezing us in between.
Not at all.
He's just come off the mountain. I took a video on the way walking down the hill so people get an idea of what's going on here.
It's a busy day, yeah.
And, he just came back from a 10 o'clock seminar. He's got a 1 o'clock something. So I don't know if he's had a scone yet, but there's some good scones at the McEwen tent.
Thank you, Michelle.
They're down one, though, because the touchdown grabbed.
Did you get one? Excellent.
I did.
No, it's my pleasure, Ray. Thank you for being here, for your time, and for all the work that you do, and representing your families, because Clan Hatton has more than one, so well. So,
indeed. It's been a pleasure, sir.
My pleasure, sir. Take care. Thank you.
That's not everyone.
We hope you enjoyed this interview with Heraldist Ross McEwen. Please subscribe to the Touch Knot. Thank you.